Hey guys. Um, so I just wanted to talk for just a minute about I don't know, the great trap debate that seems to be going on among trappers right now. So a lot of this has cropped up since the Duke 550 came out, um, but it's been going on since long before then as well. So, you know, um, I made a video about the Duke 550, and I said I was probably not going to buy any more of them. Um, if but I did. So I did buy more Duke 550s, and I'll tell you why. Because I had one, and I had it set out, well, just mixed in amongst all my other traps, and I've run Duke 1 3/4 traps. I run Sleepy Creek #3 coil springs. I've got a Sleepy Creek #3 long spring. I've got MB 550s. I've got MB 450s. I've got Bridger #2 dogless. I've got Duke #4. Is that right? The big square jaw Dukes. I've got Canine Xtreme Juniors. I've got a Montana, just one. I've got an SVS #4. So I've got a whole bunch of different traps, and I was just, I'm constantly seeing new traps, looking at new things, and just I buy one or two usually to get started, just to see how they work, how they bed. You know what I mean? What's going on with that trap? And some of them I continue to use, and some of them I kind of just put to the side because I didn't like them for whatever reason. But I mean, at the end of the day, pretty much any modern trap that you buy, if you go to F&T or Murray's or Funky or Southern Snares or whoever your preferred trap vendor is, who's your Trapper Supply, any traps that those guys carry that either they or the manufacturer recommends for coyotes, they're going to catch and hold coyotes. There's nothing, there's not really any traps left out there, at least that I know of, that are really below par as far as what they're advertised to do, right? So, modern steel is better than it used to be. Modern manufacturing processes are better than they used to be. So, I mean, if you go out to one of these big trap dealers, or if you've got a local trap dealer that you can go in and talk to somebody and say, I just want to hold coyotes and I want to do it as cheaply as possible, they're going to get you into a trap that's going to work, right? It's going to be fine. There may be some more upkeep on some of the cheaper traps, and if you think about the way it's, and we'll just talk about the dogs on the traps, right? So the dog is the portion that goes over the back jaw and then goes under the pan, right? On an MB, that's how it works. On the Canine Xtreme Juniors and the Bridger 2 dogless, the pan itself is the dog, right? So it's what engages with the rear jaw. But if you have a dog that goes over the rear jaw, if it's flat and kind of thin and long, like on a Duke 1 3/4, for example, that they tend to get bent up, right? So the coyotes bite and chew and twist and just fight that trap. And because it's a long, fairly thin piece of metal, it's going to get bent up. It just happens, right? And it happens on all dogged traps. But if you look at the MB, it's a rod dog, so it's round, so it's much stronger, over a given length than a flat piece of metal. So they're much less likely to get bent up. So if you run, say, a Duke 1 3/4 and an MB 550, and you make the same number of catches of coyotes over a given season, you're much more likely to have to either bend out or replace a dog on a 1 3/4 than you are an MB 550, because just given the amount of abuse that those traps are going to take over catching multiple coyotes, the Duke 1 3/4 is just, the dog is specifically is just not as strong a component as it is on the MB 550. So that's what it comes down to. You know what I mean? Now, if you have access to metal, if you have access to a welder in a shop and you like to tinker on stuff, then you may be way better off buying a bunch of Duke traps because you can get more for your money. Like I said, if you have access to cheap metal, scrap metal, if you work in an environment where you can bring home scrap metal for free at the end of the day or at the end of a job, you may be able to beef those traps up and make them bulletproof. You know what I mean? For a very low cost. So that may be way more beneficial to you than spending the money, the extra money on the MBs or even the Duke 550s over something like a 1 3/4. So anyway, I mean, that's all the argument really is. It's not about will a Duke 1 3/4 hold a coyote. Of course it will. Of course it will. We've got thousands and thousands of examples to prove that that is the case. So I don't think anybody's arguing that a Duke 1 3/4 or a Duke 550 or any Duke trap won't hold a coyote. It's just a matter of, you know, how long is that trap going to last without any modification to it, given the harsh abuse that's going to happen whenever it catches a coyote. So if you're a guy who doesn't have access to a welder, who doesn't have access to cheap metal, doesn't like to tinker on stuff, then it may be easier in the long run to buy a Duke 550 or an MB 550 or one of the other traps that has a dog system like the dogless traps that is less prone to have that part really bent up and screwed up after each catch, because, you know, it just doesn't have that exposure, because that, you know, that long thin dog is kind of an exposed portion of a trap that's kind of easily bent up and easily can end up, you know, forcing you to pull that trap and put a new trap in its place. Or, you know, I found myself walking around trying to find a rock so I could take my hammer and beat that thing flat so I could flatten that dog back out so it would work again, which can be kind of a pain. So so that's it. I mean, I don't think nobody with a brain at least is arguing that Duke traps won't catch coyotes, because they absolutely will, and it's been proven again thousands and thousands of times. I think the argument is more, can I work on the traps and beef them up, or do I have time to fix them, or can I just buy enough that I can replace a trap whenever, you know, I have a bent up dog or an issue, bring it back to the shop and fix it there? Do I want to do all that? Is that worth more to me than paying the extra money for a trap that's less likely to get beat up and bent up, you know, in the process of catching critters? So I think that's really the argument. I don't think it has anything to do with, you know, will it hold, will it catch? Of course it'll hold and catch. So I did buy more Duke 550s, and I had one. It was out there amongst all the other traps, and I wasn't catching anything in it. It just wasn't the trap that got lucky. So I bought a dozen more to try to get more of those traps out there, so that I could, at the end of the season, have more to say than just, you know, I put the Duke 550 out and I never caught anything in it. So far I haven't caught much in it. I've caught one bobcat, but it did hold. It held 3 toes of about a 20-pound tomcat, and he was going nuts. I mean, he had the trees tore to pieces. He had it shredded back in this area where I had caught him. So he was absolutely fighting that trap with everything he was worth, and he did not escape it. So the holding power, I think, is good. It's on par with an MB 550. Now we get to the other side of the argument, which is MB 550 versus Duke 550, and one's made in China, one's made in America. And I like to buy American, which is what I said in the video that I talked about, the MB 550 versus the Duke 550. I like to buy American when I can. That being said, I am not so delusional as to say I only buy American, because none of us only buy American. There are tons of things that you can't buy made in America anymore. Okay, this is being filmed on a phone that was made in China. All right, this hat that I'm wearing, I should have looked at it before we started. Made in China. This shirt, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't American. Okay, my pants were made in Bangladesh. I checked before I got on here, and the reason that I checked the pants is specific. Okay, so I get my pants at Walmart. They're cheap Wrangler pants, and they're like 22 bucks a pair. I've looked into buying American-made jeans. Okay, and they're like $85 a pair, I think. Guys, I'm not spending $85 on a pair of jeans. I'm just not going to do it. All right, not when the pants that I can buy for $22 a pair at Walmart work just fine and have for years. So if you're one of these guys who is, you know, screaming at the top of your lungs, buy American, you know, look through your closet, look through your driveway, maybe your garage, and see, how dedicated are you to buying American? Because I'm willing to bet you're not all that dedicated to it. You'll buy it, when you can, like me. When it makes sense, I'll spend a little bit more for American, and I try to do that as much as I can. But at the end of the day, we're all hypocrites when it comes to that, because you can't really live in this country in 2019 and buy all American. It just doesn't work that way. So don't take it too hard to the guys who are buying Dukes, because they're just trying to get by just like everybody else, right? The Dukes are way cheaper, and I totally get it. Did Duke do something a little bit dirty with copying his trap and naming it the same thing? I think the argument can be made that, yeah, that's probably the case. Could it have been done better? I think so. But at the end of the day, will Duke 550s catch just as many coyotes as MB 550s if they're put on location, embedded solid, and use good bait and lure? Absolutely. 100%. There's no doubt about it. No doubt in my mind. So, it is what it is. If you like Dukes, go trap with Dukes. If you like MBs, go trap with MBs. I think it's a Ford Chevy argument. I think it's a bunch of silliness. I think it's ridiculous that we're all fighting about this. Duke are big boys, MB are big boys. They'll figure it out. If they want to, make a bigger and better trap and get all the business, then that's what they're going to have to do. Just copying back and forth, it's probably not going to go anywhere. They're going to have to innovate and make something bigger and better, and make a new, better mousetrap if they want to dominate, the trapping industry. So let them fight it out. Let them figure it out. It's not on us. We're just the consumers, and we can buy whatever we want. It's one of the reasons this country is so great, because we can trap with Dukes or MBs, or like me, you can trap with both, and it doesn't really matter. So get whatever trap you like. Listen to your head, listen to your heart on what you're going to go buy, who you're going to support. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not a good, honest American trapper, regardless of what trap you use, because that doesn't matter at all. And get out there and trap. And I hope everybody has tight chains and a good end of the season. I'm trying to get some traps back out. The weather has been absolutely ridiculous here, just not fun at all. But anyway, get out there and trap, have a good time, and keep the tradition going. And that's it. Thanks.